Well, welcome everybody to the Lawrence Heritage State Park Visitor Center. My name is Rick Bowner. I am the Visitor Services Supervisor here at the park, and we are part of the DCR, which is the Department of Conservation and Recreation. We manage over 500,000 acres of state park in Massachusetts, which is roughly about 10% of all of the land in Massachusetts. So again, welcome. Thank you for coming to this third of our month of July Brown Bag Wednesday. Little housekeeping before we begin. Just want to let you know that the bathrooms are behind me. And we also have some cookies and some soda and water over to my left. And just want to mention that coming up for the rest of the month in July, we have next week we have the Big Three of Methuen. This is another presentation by Joe Bella. And this is the Nevins, Searles, and Tenney, presented by Joe Bella, who, by the way, is president of the Lawrence Heritage State Park Friends Group. July 27th, we have a talk by Mark LaPlante, and the title of his talk is A Quarter Century of Lawrence's Mayors and City Council. So that will be the 27th. Also want to mention that on a daily basis, 7 days a week, we have programs here. We have walking tours. We have also boat tours on the Merrimack. Those are filling up fast. So if you're interested in a boat tour, please sign up quickly. Those will run through the month of August. And I also want to mention that the schedule for the Brown Bag Wednesday for August will come out on July 27th. So I want to welcome you all again to this Brown Bag Wednesday. And today we have Mr. Tom Spitalere, and Tom is going to talk about his bicentennial exhibit, which is currently here on the 3rd floor at the Lawrence Heritage State Park Visitor Center. And a little bit about Tom. Tom, this is your life.
Yeah.
You wrote it up. Tom was born in Lawrence. He's a lifelong resident of Methuen. He graduated from Bradford College. He's a history and political science, has a history and political science degree. He's also a board member of the Friends of the Lawrence Heritage State Park. Has served on many historic boards and is a dedicated local preservationist and historian. And today's talk by Tom will be discussing the importance of preserving our material culture through collecting and saving treasures from our past. These relics show how our forefathers and foremothers lived and survived in a different time. So today, Tom has brought some relics from his own personal collection, and so he's here to share those with the audience. And please, let's welcome Tom Spitalere.
Thanks, Rick. All righty, how are you all doing today? If I stop mumbling, don't worry, I'm the shyest guy in the room. If you believe that, I think I got a bridge in South Lawrence for sale. Anyone after the talk wants to buy it, come see me. Just kidding. All right, so a little bit more. I'm sure about many boards, but my idea is to preserve history, and it doesn't matter if it's a historical building, a car, a trinket, sports memorabilia, a piece of a roof, the F, the L, and the S. We'll get to that in a few minutes. I like to preserve history. And sometimes I don't mind who I step on doing it, I just do it. So how do I preserve this stuff, and why is it so important? Before we get into this, where would I have found a lot of this stuff? Secondhand stores, and my favorite thing. Anyone know what this is? Trash guy. People throw so much good stuff away. God only knows a lot of this stuff I found after yard sales in the trash. People want to throw material culture away. By the way, I said I'm a lifelong preservationist. I'm the ripe age of 64 years old. Oh, wait a minute. I switched the numbers. I must be losing my memory. 46. I said a lifelong preservationist. See this shirt? Like it? I've had this since my senior year in high school. It still fits me. I graduated class of 95. It still fits me today. I tried to find my other pair of pants I'd wear with this, but I couldn't find them. They were muscle-ups. And when those are the Velcro pants, the Velcro in front. Have a few pairs of those floating around. So yes, and a lot of if you've seen me with my other talks, some of this stuff, like this was my dad's. This was my dad's. So I preserve a lot of things. I'm the last person you want to call to clean out the house when someone passes away in the family. Because you might only get 3 bags of trash. The rest of it's going to go being preserved. So we'll get into this a little bit, and then we'll get into the bicentennial at the end. Material culture, that's what we're here to discuss. All right? Material culture is the aspect of social reality grounded in objects, architecture that surround people. It includes the usage and consumption and creation of trade objects, as well as behaviors, norms, rituals, objects that create and take part, and some scholars also include the intangible phenomena that include sound, smell, and event. So all this stuff here was made for a reason. It was made, some of it's mass marketing, some of it is not. For example, if you went out to the Mohawk Trail and you want to bring back a little trinket, you had these floating around. You could buy one of these. Same with these plates. These plates tell a story. Just like I say in a few of my other talks, graveyards tell stories, plates tell stories. So let's just grab one of these plates. You can come up, look at them a little later. Is this one that I can use? Okay. Doesn't matter. This one here. So this plate here, from the 1920s. So it tells a story of New Hampshire. I have Mass plates, Connecticut plates, plates of all over the place. So on here, we have covered bridges. As you can see here, there's still covered bridges today. Try to find this stuff though. It's hard to find. A ski scene from Whittier Ski Tow. Whittier Ski Tow's in Ossipee. It's no longer there. Who's been to Ossipee? Anybody? You know where the post office is? On Route 16, near the Hidden Pig, McDonald's. Okay, that building there was the bottom of the Whittier Ski Tow. It went right across Route 16 up the hill. Long gone. I even got a banner, one of those like pennant banners. I forgot to bring it with me because it was in my room hanging. I just forgot it this one. It says Whittier Ski Tow right on it. Long gone. So we're actually preserving old culture, because ski areas were all over New England. You had one in North Andover, right off of 114. You had one in Methuen, right at Forest Lake. So, I mean, they're gone. They were swallowed up by the bigger skis, but that's all part of our cultural history. You take family trips to these ski tows. You go up the mountains once a year, go skiing with the family. Brings back great memories. The Cog Railroad, thank God that's still going on. And this is an early 1920s plate. Again, the old man in the mountain, he passed away a few years ago. Very sad. I have a few things from that. And covered bridges. There are people who write books on covered bridges. I got about 40 books on New England covered bridges. So I collect these. I probably have about 150 to 200 of these type of warming plates. Like to play cards? That you put your deck of cards in there. This came from North Conway. I have stuff that says Salisbury Beach, Cape Cod, White Mountains. They're shadow boxes. I have 4 or 5 boxes of those. And I'm not talking about the little boxes. I'm talking about big boxes of stuff. You could go to any place in New England back from the, 1920s? 30s, 40s? Back then it was popular to what? It's not a healthy thing to do, but smoke cigarettes, yes. I have matchbook covers, cases of those. But every place you went, you got an ashtray. Didn't matter if it was at the local wine and dine right here in Lawrence, Methuen, or this is Connecticut from Whalestail Park. But I have some from Salisbury Beach. I have some from Lawrence, Methuen, Boston, same with the cigarette covers. Now, why is material culture so important? We're losing our material culture. Take me, for example, or anybody in this room. You've lost a lot of your stuff through the years. Let's look at me, for example. That way we don't point anybody out. Okay? I grew up in Methuen. The hospital I was born in is gone. It's still there, but it's gone. It's got a new name. I lost that. I lost my mall. The Methuen Mall is gone. I actually have chairs from the Methuen Mall. Okay? Some of you guys sitting in the audience lost something that was near and dear to my own father's side of the family. But I own the FDL and the S from it. Anyone guess? I'll give you a hint. Salisbury.
Oh, that thing, that pig thing. Dinosaur?
No.
Oh.
The Frolics. I went dumpster diving when they tore the Frolics down at the Ocean Echo Hotel and pulled the FDL and the S out. Okay? Now, why is that so near and dear to my family? Well, right next door was a sub shop. Along the loop, it used to be Sal's Pizza, then it's something else. The Upper Deck Bar, I don't know what it is, they haven't been to the beach in a couple of years. But it's right, we come around the loop, it's right there. Okay, then you got the bandstand. That was my great uncle's location in the 70s and 80s, in the late 60s. My cousin's got photographs of him with all the great stars that played with the Frolics as they were kids. So, we lost a lot of our own cultural history through the years. You know, Lawrence, there was a great marble building at the corner of Essex Street. I have a postcard of it. Anyone remember it?
Post office.
Post office. What'd they replace it with? Hold on. Ronald. I mean, so that's why I collect this stuff. I collect this stuff to preserve it. So when you come to an exhibit of mine or anybody else's and down the road, this stuff will go elsewhere. It's all being preserved. I have stuff going to the state of New Hampshire, Massachusetts. The bicentennial is the only thing, I'll get to that at the end, where it's going, I don't know, in 100 years after I'm gone. Well, that'd be 146 years of living. That would be pretty cool. But all this stuff will be preserved one way or another. Beforehand, you used to be able to go, this place is no longer in existence, the Ravine in New England Inn. Cookbook from there. They would sell their cookbooks. Who likes reading the newspaper? I read 7 a day. You know how they used to print newspapers? No. Very slow process. Off of these. I pulled this from my paranormal collection. These are actually epitaphs on a gravestone that they did for a gravestone book. But they would eat this and put it through. So that's what those are. Who liked apple picking? Apple Crest Farms. This is from like the 30s or the 40s, they told me, because I found it and brought it to Apple Crest to find out when they had it, because I knew the owners because I worked up in Exeter for a while. And then I collect stuff like this. This just went out of business recently. I got a whole bunch of these floating around that just went out of business. He retired after 40 years in the business. Teacups, coffee cups, mostly coffee. I got teacups like this too. Snow globes. Oh, I don't even know how many of these I got. This is from Vermont. I got some that sing. I got some that don't do anything. I got plastic, I got glass. Sports memorabilia. Who loves sports here? Everybody loves a good sports story, right? You know, you had the Red Sox, they hadn't won a World Series since the world was flat. Then they won a few of them recently. I was going to bring some sports memorabilia, but to get this bicentennial collection out, which I'll discuss, took me a while, so I had to maneuver my 11 by 15 storage unit, and it's still not fixed up right yet. So the other night I was out, and I found this. One of the greatest stories in Boston sports history, outside of probably the '86 Celtics, which was the greatest team ever. This came from the 1975 World Series. I wasn't around then. I was born in '76. But I've heard all the great stories about '75. Probably the most game everybody remembers is what?
Carlton Fisk's.
Game 6. Correct. Game 6 of the World Series, which started with, I forgot his name. They traded him from the Reds to the Red Sox. Bernie Carbo.
Bernie Carbo.
Someone said he swung a bat like he was down in Porter Square in Boston, chopping up meat, until he hit the game-tying home run. Then around midnight, as we all know from history, Fisk hit the game-winning home run, and everybody partied until the world came down the next day. And then Game 7, well, they fell asleep and life goes on. Same with '86. Great World Series till about Game 6, and then the Red Sox plunged into the ground. 2003, another great year for the Red Sox. They put a guy in who shouldn't have been pitching in the bottom of the 10th inning, and somebody hit a home run off him for the Yankees, and the Red Sox didn't go to the World Series. Yeah, that was it. So, just what we discussed here. Now, everybody probably, how many of you have been to New Hampshire when you guys were kids? Yeah, so you're going to remember some of this stuff. So you come in and go, wow, look at this. I remember going there, here. Oh, that's no longer standing. Some of these covered bridges are not original anymore either. They've been rebuilt because of floods, damages. Church warmers, too. I have a lot of these. New England church. And some of these buildings are no longer standing. This one happens to be. But some of these old, they call them the old white church, because that's what they were white buildings. Every town in city had an old white, even South Lawrence still does. The Congregational Church there off of South Broadway. They still call that the old white church, because it's an old white, an old white church. A lot of them are gone. It's a Congregational church there, right next to the tire place. Yeah. So all this stuff we need to preserve. Now, pop culture. That stuff we take for granted today. Oh, wait a minute, before we get to pop culture. Who remembers going to the beach making sandcastles? You can find these today, but half the time they don't even come with the shovel. Or the rake. You're going to buy the basket, then the shovel, then the rake. All separate. And this came from, someone probably got, what do you call those things? Shells of these things. What are they called? You clean them with, dip them with butter and eat them.
Clams.
Clams. These were probably bought with clams in them originally. So, oh, and I almost forgot, my college closed too, so I lost my college too. And that was the last class out of Graphic College, I lost that. How many, I know one person here worked at Honeywell. How many other people worked at Honeywell? Work, please. Bring back some good memories, some sad memories, and some memories you might not want to remember. But a lot of companies did these. I have probably about 50 or 60 of these company plates. Whoever mastered the Rubik's Cube, anybody? I did. You know how I did it though? I peeled the stickers off. Rubik's Cube, New Hampshire. I got one of this, New Hampshire. This is New Hampshire one. Old Man in the Mountain, different things, map in New Hampshire, so Rubik's Cube. This is new. This is brand new. I probably got this 4 or 5 years ago. It's not brand new, but compared to some of this other stuff, it is new. This came from my bank. Oh, wait a minute, it's not my bank anymore. Darn it, I lost my bank. This came from the Lawrence Savings Bank. This is when they gave out real banks. Recently, I'm also involved with Lawrence Cable. Recently, as of the end of last year, we're at the Merrimack Valley Chamber Business Expo, and one of the banks where they're giving out piggy banks. I almost died when I saw the piggy bank. It's cute. I got one for my New England collection. It's only this big, and guess what it's made out of? How'd you guess? This here? Metal. This is also a piggy bank. I got a whole bunch of these type of jars like this. Oh, I didn't even know that. When I got this, I didn't realize it. The plug's still in there. This came around the 1950s because it's got the rubber plug in it. These you still can get today. They make them today, but now the plugs are plastic. I've seen them at the Salisbury Beach Discount House, that's how I knew. They still make this style, but the plugs are plastic. That's how you can, oh, there it is, rubber plug. Remember having a piggy bank growing up? I did. The only thing I didn't like about the piggy banks without the rubber plugs in them, you had to break them to get the money out. And some of them were cute. I carefully broke one and re-glued it because my grandmother gave me, it was a bunny rabbit for Easter. When I took the change out, I just chipped the ear off it very carefully and then hot glued it back on. You gotta preserve that type of history. This is pewter. These were common in the 40s and 50s. You don't find these anymore. I haven't seen any of these new in ages. And who can forget about the holidays? This is when they made Christmas decorations. I have a whole bunch of these. And now we're getting a little bit about pop culture, which is popular of its time. So pop culture changes through the years, but here's a famous pop culture character. Anyone know who this is? Ronald McDonald, yeah. Then you have the Burger King, it was pop culture. But pop culture has changed. So depending on what generation you grew up in. Back in the day, you had some popular TV shows that may not be popular today, but I'm going to mention them anyhow. Sanford and Son and All in the Family. Today they may not be so popular for many reasons, and we're not going to get into those reasons, but that's the culture of the day. Now, one of the biggest pop icon cultures besides, well, Michael Jackson in the 80s. Who remembers this? Star Wars. Now, when it comes to Star Wars, I could probably fill this room pretty full with Star Wars memorabilia. If I look at one of the biggest Star Wars fanatics out there, I could replay all the old Star Wars ones and sit there, you wouldn't want to watch them with me. Because all the great one-liners, I already know. So I'll be saying them with the movie. So, Star Wars is still popular today. And believe it or not, this came out and I couldn't get it. They sold out before they came out with this. One day I'm driving back early in the morning from yard sailing on my way to work. I'm in Raleigh on a Sunday morning. I'm cruising down 133 back to Havel so I can get to work. I see this big sign stuff on the side of the road with this all-important sign. F-R-E-E. I pull in and I start looking. I loaded up the whole car. Because there was a lot of great New England memorabilia. That's why I played Weekend in New England earlier. For the Weekend in New England theme. This was sitting there. The 35th anniversary poster that they did. You don't think I caught that up real quick. So some of this is unlocked. But let's look at other pop culture stuff that I don't have. We'll get to the other thing in a few minutes, but other pop culture of interest. So everybody remembers Star Wars, right? What was the second grossest movie to Star Wars in 1978? Anybody remember? I was only 2. No. The first Star Wars, Empire Strikes Back, was in the 80s. So this is 1978.
Oh, Saturday Night Fever.
Nope. This spun off one of the best TV shows, that's why I'm getting to this.
How about a hint?
How's the show?
Well, I have to be real careful with this hint, but I'll give it. We got adults in the room, but we're also filming. I can drive any fork and truck there is. That's fork, not what you thought I said.
Something Clint Eastwood?
Not Clint Eastwood. We can do this. It's only 1,800 miles here and 1,800 miles back. We'll call it Bandit 1 and Bandit 2. Smokey and the Bandit. That spun off the Dukes of Hazzard. Another great iconic cultural of the late 70s and early 80s. You remember Smokey and the Bandit, right?
You know, I've never seen it.
No? Oh, really? You gotta see, I'll have to loan you. I got it on VHS, DVD, and I got it on vinyl too. I'll loan it to you.
Break it one night.
I recently saw Caddyshack, so I'll tell you.
Oh, that's a 1980s cultural, yes. We were still in the 70s over here. But it spun off the Dukes of Hazzard. Because it was about bootlegging. When we really think about it, the first Smokey and the Bandit was about running cores from Texarkana, Texas to Georgia. North of the Mason-Dixon line, that was bootlegging back then. So that ran into the Smokey, that ran into the Dukes of Hazzard. Right after that, so. And then, you know, then you got the other shows of the 80s that were Caddyshack, you're in the golfing and sports, and Woodchucks. That was another pop icon. Ghostbusters. You don't have to like paranormal like I do to like the movie Ghostbusters. And it spun all this stuff off. I actually have a real Ecto 1 car from the 80s. This just happens to be
I actually saw the car on the side drive this week.
yeah, that's owned by Rocky Morrison in Clean River. So, that's why it's important to preserve this stuff. This actually came from the auto auction. When my uncle closed down his business, Tom, come on down, whatever you want, you can throw away. Well, of course, his definition of throw away isn't into the trash, it's into the storage unit for preservation. So all this stuff will end up going either to a local museum, New Hampshire museum, somewhere. I do plan on preserving, and the sports stuff will probably head maybe to one of the New England sports museums. There's plenty of them out there now. Yeah, I know there's at least one in Boston. Foxborough's got their own. The Celtics now got their own. There's one New England museum in Rhode Island. They're all over the place now. They're called different things. But this stuff will all be preserved. Because my idea when either purchasing this stuff or picking it up, or sometimes when I put this stuff out like this, someone will call me up afterwards and goes, I got 8 or 9 boxes of either Bicentennial, New England, whatever I have out, sports stuff. I said, well, things are a little rough right now. Because I don't mind paying, but I gotta watch, you know, because this stuff can get it. Oh, no, just take it for free. Because they want to make sure it gets preserved. Because they know what's going to happen if they go, when they go on to the next world from here, wherever you believe, probably going to end up in the trash. Because we're a busy society today. No one's got time to actually go through things and go in the heavy drawers of, like when Grandma passed away, go through the drawers and make sure there's nothing value. You just look real quick, and then you bring in an antique dealer to buy the furniture if you can, or wherever, donate it, and it's gone. I almost forgot something else. I have bags and bags of this stuff. No, I got shelves. These are old plates. You can look at these later on. Old plates. Pieces of an old plate. Now I don't know if they're the same plate, but they came from the same area, so I put them in the same bag. I like walking the rocks at North Beach. You find a lot of broken plates and colonial era points, bullets, shots, all along stuck in the rocks. I have bags of this stuff. All found there or found in the local riverbeds. Because remember what they used to do with our trash? Anyone? They dumped it in the river. You know, you have a big fire, a big mill explosion, ends up where? In the river. When downtown Havel burned 130 years ago, they bulldozed the whole thing right into the river. Because the idea was all the dirt would go down the river into the big ocean and disappear. Doesn't really work that way. It sticks around. So again, this is another piece of important history, cultural history, material cultural history. And it's so important to keep this stuff because we got to think of not our generation, or your generation, my generation. I got to think of my niece's generation, and her kids' generation, and the generations to come, so they can learn from this stuff. They can see what was there. In all the years I've been going up north, I go the same route every year I go, and every time I go. I very seldom do I take highways. I'm the back roads guy. I've seen Route 16 since the late 80s. I can drive Route 16 today and tell you what was where it was today, as they have developed most of the southern half of Route 16, heading up to North Conway and the White Mountains. Anyone ever been on that road? You should see what they've done outside of Rochester, in south of Rochester. They took miles of woods. Oh, now they're Home Depot, Lowe's, all malls. They've taken down small hotels all along Route 1. I can remember them as kids. They're either empty lots right now, or there's some box store. Those small hotels are gone. That was an important part of New England cultural history. Because when you took the family, I mean, you know, they talk about, oh, it's a short ride to the mountains. Well, today it might be, because you can take 93, right? If you lived in Lawrence and you wanted to go up to the Lakes region in North Conway, what way would you go? Anyone? Route 28, all the way up. I've done this once before with my car. And with all the traffic today, that's a very long ride, I hate to tell you. I know back in the younger, like when my friend Joe Belli used to go up there that way with his father, there was a lot less traffic on the road. It's still a long ride. 28 all the way up to where Route 16 and 28 meet in South Ossipee. And then you get on 16 and chug it all the way up. That was that way till the 1960s. Well, my generation, now we get 93 and 128, all those great highways. They're getting congested now too, 195. But back then, it was Route 28. How long did it take to go to the mountains from down here? Remember? At least. Because when I did it, it took us almost 4 hours, but I hit all the traffic in Concord too. And today there's a lot more traffic in Concord, New Hampshire than there was back in the day. But that's a long ride. And you would stop at motels. There were motels all along 28. From Wyndham all the way up. Those are all gone now. They've been replaced by box stores, strip malls, and everything else. But it's kind of sad what we've lost. And we really haven't gained much from it. We just keep losing. We've lost the whole culture. You know, you can drive up there and go, oh, I remember going there as a kid. We had fun in the pool and this, that, and the other thing. Going to Whittier Ski Town. Oh, we used to go to Whittier all the time. I talked to people who did go to Whittier all the time and other places. I have a lot of older friends and I hear stories from. And they go up those roads down with the grandkids and they want to cry. What it turned out to be. There's nothing there. I mean, there was a big fight. Who remembers Route 1 in Saugus? Anybody? Okay, well, when the steakhouse closed, there was a big argument, and then there was a park down there with a dinosaur. A driving range, miniature golf. Well, they got the town and people in Saugus kept together. They did develop the miniature golf course, it's gone, but they kept the dinosaur. That's a cultural icon. There are books written about these things. You can ride up to Maine and find all these icons like Paul Bunyan, big tall Paul Bunyan guy with his axe. I mean, once these things are gone, they're gone. The Mohawk Trail, I got postcards. I could level this whole room with postcards of the Mohawk Trail. Go up the Mohawk Trail today, half those places are gone. And the old pullouts are all gone because they've been developed or redeveloped. So what I intend on doing by keeping this stuff is preserving what we can of the past. So these stories can be retold, and never forgotten. Because even in stories, you know, it brings back a happier time. Sometimes, not all the time, sometimes. Any questions so far? Am I boring you?
Still in the bottle.
What? Oh, the bottle. This isn't that old. This came from the old country store in Moulton Borough, New Hampshire. Now I know it's not that old. The bottom and the cap is still, it's a twist cap. I hurt my hand the other day, so I can't twist this off as easy as I want to. But this is a twist. Even though it looks like the old beer bottle, it's a twist cap. It says right on it. That could be stuck on there from being in my storage unit. Letter opener from Wells. Is this the Wells Beach, Maine one? Yeah, it is. Yeah, Wells, Maine.
That was a paperweight.
Paperweight and letter opener. This is relatively new. This is it. And I have some old paperweights, and I just didn't bring them today. I couldn't bring everything. I got cases and cases and cases of this stuff. But you can come up and look at these. Let me get into what's going on with the bicentennial stuff, so I don't bore anybody. Bicentennial. I was born June 4th, 1976. I always tell my mother, she messed up by 30 days. I wish she held on. Just 30 more days. Then I could be born on the 4th of July. That would make me Yankee Doodle Dandy. So, as a young kid growing up, I always went to Lexington and Concord, not just for the paranormal, but the history. History intrigued me first. Paranormal came a little later on in my life, but not much later. So I'd go down there and I look at all the great stuff and I hear the great stories of history and I'm like, wow, we need to preserve these things. Then I started finding pieces. Then I made it a lifelong commitment with the last 20 years to make sure I find stuff, calendars, plates, booklets. Booklets are a very important part of history. We're losing our books thanks to these stupid things. And tablets, and iPads, and all those, you're funny, and all those other ridiculous things. Books. Let me digress a second. Books are my favorite thing. I probably have close to 25,000 books, 20 to 25,000 books, between the paranormal and history. Now, when I mean history, I didn't bring any with me. I don't mean those little postcards. I got them too. But I'm talking about town histories. Histories of beer companies, histories of this company. Town histories, I collect those. But I also collect a lot of stuff of early colonial history books because those are being lost. I own 3, and I just picked up my 3rd copy. First copy I got as a birthday present back in the day. Second copy I paid big bucks for. Gallant Warrior, the story of Hannah Dustin. I just picked up a 3rd copy, autographed by Helen Ruth Mann, the author. I paid 15 cents for it. I like to go to places where you buy books. Salvation Army, 6 books for $1. Know what I pull out of there? Who's heard the famous book, War and Peace? First edition copy of War and Peace in Russian I pulled out of there. So, I buy all those books to preserve those books too. Old history books, school history books. That's all part of a culture. Now, you don't always have to believe what's in those books because the way we think today. But those books represent a time period of a belief. And that's material culture of the time. We cannot take material culture of a time and put it into a different time span. Because then you lose, and you lose what we've already gained from that. Let's take what we learned from that and learn from it and see if we can expand on that culture. But let's not try to change our material culture. And that's why books are so important. I have books, biography books written in the 40s and 50s on people you want to curb today. Robert E. Lee, first edition biography, written in 1939. I have a lot of those type of books. I have them on Grant. I have them on Washington. It doesn't matter who they are. They're historical figures, and they're old books I'm buying. Same with the bicentennial. This was an important part of our heritage. 200-year celebration. This year we turned 246 years old. Yes, we're not as old as England, or even Egypt, or any of those countries. But 246 years of democracy is a long time. We had to celebrate. So every 4th of July we do it. So we have the Battle Hymn of Lexington and Concord. We have plenty of plates, stickers of the time period. I have plenty of books. What you see here is only 9 cases of my stuff out of 14 or 15 cases of bicentennial stuff. And that's what it's all about. You know, I have, in one family alone, I'm going to just pull this. I wasn't going to do this, but we got a few extra minutes. Because I'm doing a talk on Robert Rogers and the French Indian War and stuff, I could have brought one of these, the other two with me for this exhibit. What's this say? Molly Stark's canning. Molly Stark, her husband and cousin all had Jim Beam bottles made in 1974 to 76 for the celebration of our great country. Molly Stark, her husband John Stark, and her cousin, who was also her husband, Hannah Dustin. All 3 of them had Jim Beam bottles made. I have the John Stark and the Hannah Dustin one, but I didn't bring all mine because I need to do that for another talk while this is going on. So I kept the John Stark. Oh, I got my Washington one over there. I have 2 of those anyhow. My George Washington one. But that was, these were cultural icons, these, you know, these Jim Beam bottles. They made them for all 50 states. I probably have about 100, 150 of these Jim Beam bottles. When it comes to stuff I have, I can see people's faces. I have an 11 by 15 storage unit filled floor to ceiling, another 10 by 12, and then I have 3 other off-site locations filled. I am a collector, and all this stuff will be preserved and brought to other locations after I go. Because that's how much I believe in preserving our cultural history. Don't always have to agree with it, but it's part of what we grew up, it's part of what we lived, it's part of our life, part of who we are. You know, we come from, you know, we all got pieces of our parents and our grandparents, I don't care who you are. Good, bad, or indifferent. You know, and that's what we're here to do, is try. I'm here to preserve these glass plates, these clocks. That's not even a real bicentennial piece. That piece of artwork I picked up in, I think it was Salisbury. It's the eagle, the American eagle with the flag, but it goes with the collection. That's so it's personal artwork. I have a few of those floating around for different reasons. So, if you want to if you have any questions right now, I'll be glad to answer them, and if not, take a walk around the exhibit, look at it, and if you have any questions about the exhibit, I'll be more than happy to answer them too. Was I too long-winded today? Everybody enjoy it?
Very interesting.
Look, we got a few minutes left so people can walk around and look at the exhibit. Yes?
Why aren't you donating some of these now, so people can see them now?
Because some of the museums, one, aren't ready for them the way I want it to be ready, but I get agreements with some of these places. And these things are out periodically throughout the area. I don't always give talks, but if you go to the Nevins Library, sometimes the Able Public Library, you'll see this stuff floating around. Sometimes I don't even put my name to it, I just do it. Because everything I do, I don't look for the cameras, the glory of the papers, I just do it. Sometimes that follows me with it, and when I do fundraising for organizations, obviously you need to bring people in, so you need, stories in the paper. But that's the reason why. I want to make sure they're preserved. I don't want this stuff to be thrown in, and I don't care what museum it is. They can't display everything. But I just don't want everything thrown in a box, put in a corner, and forgotten for 50 years. And someone go, oh look, we got the Spitalere collection. What are we going to do with this? So there's a lot of paperwork that's got to go through. That's why it's not all there yet. Eventually it'll be. I've already donated stuff to local museums. For example, Salem, New Hampshire, you go to they're open on Mondays. They had an exhibit of some old vinyls and some other stuff. They were missing a few things. So I donated stuff I like to listen to. Cassettes and 8-tracks. Who remembers 8-tracks? Oh, I got about 3,000 of those. 2,000 vinyls, maybe more. Some of my vinyls are up in this exhibit. But I donated a few of those 8-tracks and the kids goes, what is that? I've never seen that. Well, 8-tracks did not last long, around 2-3 years, pretty much. I got an 8-track player, I never hooked it to my car yet. My next car, I'm gonna hook an 8-track player. I actually haven't got out of the car.
Did you get any of the history books that you get?
I do. I'm behind on a lot of them, but I can only read so much. And a lot of the books I buy are the stuff that I'm already doing talks on. You notice, some of you guys that have been to my talks before, you notice I don't have a screen, PowerPoint. I bring stuff with me. My talk in August will be the same thing when I do the talk on the rise of socialism in the Merrimack Valley. I'm going to bring things. When I do my French Indian War talk, I have, you've seen, I think a couple of you have seen my talk, I bring tables of stuff with me. So, but that's how I do things. Now you can come up here and remember this stuff, instead of looking at it on the screen going, oh, it's on the screen. I can't even touch the thing. Any other questions?
Your categories is one New England, is one pop culture.
Yeah, so most of this stuff out here, some of it overlaps, like the pop culture stuff, some of it does overlap. But I have an exhibit that I do called Weekend in New England. That's where you'll see a lot of this stuff, the plates. The pop culture exhibit, you'll see sporting stuff like this. I do a full sports exhibits too, but you'll see sporting stuff, the Ronald McDonald Christmas ornament, the Star Wars, Lady Liberty Budweiser back there, that's mine. I also have Sam Adams. Have you ever been to the market before? You see in the summer, they have their summer ale, they have a sailboat. I got that when I used to work up at Exeter from one of my suppliers when I managed a restaurant up there that was a convenience store. I asked one of my suppliers if he could get me one. He shows up with one. Here, Tom, for you. I thank you very much. But most of this stuff would be Weekend in New England or pop culture one. I don't do that often because it's not that exciting. But the Weekend in New England and my bicentennial one are the big ones. Any other questions? All right, so take a look around. I'm going to get a quick drink of water here because I want to coffee. I want to thank everybody for coming.